The rise of Rashtrakutas was a very significant episode in the history of Deccan India. Never before until the rise of Marathas was any power so formidable, influential that it could intervene, it could poke its nose into the politics of North India and also that of far south. The Rashtrakutas of Deccan were feudatories, or the founders were feudal lords of Chalukyas of Badami, and taking advantage of the declining political situation after the most powerful Chalukyan king Pulkesin II, they emerged, and which was a regular pattern in the history of early medieval India. Whenever the central polity got weak, then the feudal lords declared their autonomy. In the case of Rashtrakutas, it was no different when Danti Durg established the capital, Manikhet, and the base of the Rashtrakutas. The Rashtrakutas of Deccan, as we know from our geographical knowledge, is sandwiched, or it is a region between South India and North India. Hence, whoever occupies Deccan is able to intervene into North India, is able to intervene or can intervene into South India, and also in the nearby Rajasthan Gujarat region. Hence, in the medieval times, also the Delhi Sultans and later the Mughals, they invested a lot of energy, resources in occupying and in integrating the Deccan region so as to have a ground further annexation in the south. The political history of the Rashtrakutas is defined by a constant battle with the Pratiharas for the control of Gujarat and Malwa region. And they also fought with a number of nearby kingdoms. Chalukyas of Vengi. Vengi Chalukyas were an offshoot or a branch of Chalukyas of Badami. When Pulkesin II, he controlled Vengi region, he annexed the Vengi region, and he instated his brother on the throne of Vengi. Vengi was also a very fertile basin, and the Vengi emerged as an apple of discord or as a point of dispute between the Vijayanagar and the Bahmani kingdoms later on. So they fought battles with Chalukyas of Vengi. Later, Chalukyas of Vengi were reduced to the status of feudatories. So we see history repeating itself. We see a pattern of history in which one is a feudal lord, other is from the ruling house, and then there is a switch of power. The greatest kings, Govinda III, was not only satisfied by subduing the Chalukyans of Vengi, but he also fought against the Pandyans. He fought against Pallavas, Pandyans of Madurai, Pallavas of Kanchipuram, and the Cheras of Kerala. The other king who is notable among the Rashtrakutan ruling dynasty was more known for his literary and religious pursuits rather than for his political exploits. And he is Amogvarsh. We will discuss more about the literary cultural contribution of Amogvarsh in the forthcoming slides. There was another great king, Krishna III, who even defeated the Cholas of Tanjore. He defeated the Chola king Prantaka first, and he extended the territory of the Rashtrakutas up to Rameshwaram. So we see that Krishna III, he had campaigned against Chalukyas of Vengi, Parmars of Malwa, and the Cholas of Tanjore. If we go by the accounts of the Arab traveler Al-Masudi, Al-Masudi refers to a great king, Vallav Raja. We are not sure who is this Vallav Raja, but many historians, many recent analysts have correlated Krishna III with Vallav Raja. So according to him, Vallav Raja was able to defeat a number of nearby kingdoms and emerge as the most formidable power in Deccan and South India. So this is the map of the Rashtrakutas, and we can see that the position or the location of the Rashtrakutas also give them an opportunity and a threat, obviously, because they are surrounded by enemies from all the sides. In the case of Rashtrakutas, it was more of an opportunity. In the north, they fought for Kannauj. Here, they also fought against the Parmars. They fought against Pratiharas. In the south, against Chalukyas of Vengi, against the Pallavas, the Gangas of Mysore, the Cholas of Tanjore, even the Cheras also. So, the position of Rashtrakutas in the Deccan allowed them to intervene in the politics of North and South India. However, one of the limitations, or we can say that they were not able to capitalize on their strength, is that they were unable to stabilize the politics of North India. They were unable to fill the political vacuum which was created after Harshvardhan. And it is said that because of the constant warfare, the Pratiharas were not able to concentrate on the defense of northwest frontier. So they were unable to stabilize the politics, and they contributed to the political vacuum, we can say, in North India, which provided for Turkish invasion. If we see their contribution or their history in South India, then definitely at one point of time, as we can see in this map, they were able to integrate all the nearby kingdoms. So we can see that until the rise of imperial Cholas, the politics of South India was influenced by the Rashtrakutas. And this has been mentioned in a number of inscriptions also. Because whenever you write your answers, whenever you talk about, discuss an issue, it would be better if you can give a reference to any literary or an archaeological evidence also. For example, in the case of Rashtrakutas, there are two notable inscriptions. The Sajan inscription, in which it is mentioned in glorious terms that they subordinated the political confederacy of Cholas, Chalukyas, Pallavas and Pandyas. In the Karhad inscription, it is mentioned in glorious terms. However, we are not sure how far the claims mentioned in this inscription is true, in which it is mentioned that even Sri Lanka was subordinated by the Rashtrakutas. So it may be an exaggeration, but one thing that we know, that at the peak, at the climax of their power, they were the most influential power in the Indian politics. At a time when the overall scenario of Indian political structure was that of fragmentation, decentralization, the Rashtrakutas were more of an exception. And even when compared to Harshvardhana, on their own, they were more powerful. In fact, after the Guptas, they were the most powerful ruling house until the arrival of the imperial Cholas. The Rashtrakutas were notable not only for their politics, for their military ambitions, but also for their notable contribution in the field of art and culture. And in the recent years, we see that the pattern, the inclination of history is more towards art and culture and socio-economic history. The Rashtrakutas, they were also patrons of a variety of temple architecture. And in the temple architecture of Rashtrakutas, because it was in Deccan, we have influence of North India, Nagara style, and the South India, Dravida style. Some of the historians even say that a notable contribution of Pallava temple architecture can also be found in the temples of Rashtrakutas. The greatest of the temple is the rock-cut cave temple, that is the Kailasha temple, located in cave 16 of the Ellora caves. Patronized by Krishna the First, and it is a monolithic rock structure. When I say monolithic, means a single rock structure was there, and out of which was cut a very elaborate, a very intricate design of temple which housed the shivling. So it was a monolithic, it was a single rock temple in which there is a flat roof mandapa, very richly carved pillars with themes from Mahabharata and Ramayana. So this is a notable Nagara style influence. In the image, here we can see that the roof is very similar to the step size pyramidal Vimana. So the roof is tiered, step size, and this is the notable Dravida influence. We have other structures also, such as in the same caves. In cave number 15, you would find Ravan ki Khai, the Dashavatar temple, in which Hindu gods, Shaivite gods, Shiva and his various companions are depicted, but it looks like a Buddhist monastery. The other very notable contribution of the Rashtrakutas, which is also very famous from the point of view of UPSC syllabus, very important, is the notable sculpture of three-headed Shiva known as Trimurti, Mahesh Murti or Sadashiv. The three faces of Lord Shiva represents three aspects of Lord Shiva, which is notable amongst the Shaivites. They are creation, destruction, and preservation. This three-headed Shiva is flanked by Dwarpals, surrounded by Dwarpals, and on its two sides are the images of Shiva in Ardhanarishwar. Ardhanarishwar in Shiva and Parvati, the integration of both. The beautiful union of Purush and Prakriti is depicted in the Ardhanarishwar. Also on the other side, the image of Gangadhar. Shiva is also known as Gangadhar, or the person who is able to hold on Ganga, the river Ganges, in his hair, in his bun. Because when Bhagirath requested goddess Ganga to descend on the earth so as to meet all the water needs, then there was a concern that Ganga descending from the heaven might crack open and break the earth in two parts because of the momentum. So everybody went to Lord Shiva, requested him that can you de-accelerate, can you stop the momentum of Ganges? Then he agreed to have, to dhar means to hold Ganges in his bun and release it partially. So that is the story also, and a belief, a commonly held belief, that Lord Shiva is praying. He is meditating somewhere in the Himalayas, and from the Himalayas he is releasing river Ganges. So he is known as Gangadhar also. So very beautiful and very important also from the point of view of UPSC syllabus. This image, this Trimurti Sadashiv or the Mahesh Murti of Lord Shiva, found in the Elephanta caves. The Ellora and Elephanta caves were notable. They were notable for the coexistence of images of multiple belief systems, speaking a lot about the cosmopolitan outlook of ancient India. The Rashtrakutas were also known for their notable contribution in the field of literature. They themselves being men of letters, they provided patronage to the development of Kannada and Sanskrit language. Amogvarsh, a prominent figure who earlier was a Shaivite, later converted to Shayadvad philosophy or the Shayadvad section of Jainism, was a person who was associated with the patronage of both the languages. His notable contributions are Kaviraj Marg, a book on poetry, and Pasano Tar Malika, a book on moral principles that should be upheld by a king. There were notable scholars who were patronized by the Rashtrakuta kings, such as Swayambhu, who was a notable scholar in upper branch. Then we have Pon, whose work was Shantipura in Kannada. Another person, Shakyan, who had written the work Amog Vritti. In the field of religion, the Rashtrakutas patronized Brahmanism. It is believed that after becoming the king, Dantidurg, he performed Hiranyagarbh sacrifice. Hiranyagarbh ritual or sacrifice was performed by many of the upstart kings so as to claim a Kshatriya status. So, arising out of a sense of insecurity because of the humble background or because of the lack of authentic lineage, many of these kings not only patronized temple building associated with Shaivism, Vaishnavism, they provided Dakshina Dana to the Brahmanas, but also performed the very famous Hiranyagarbha sacrifice. And we have the images of Lord Shiva and the vehicle of Lord Vishnu, Garud, on the royal seal. This also speaks a lot about their religious outlook. So they patronized both Shaivism and Vaishnavism. They were performers of Vedic sacrifice, and Amog Varsh, who was earlier a devotee of Lord Goddess Lakshmi, later converted to Jainism, and he was influenced by Shayadavad philosophy of Jainism. He constructed a number of Jaina monasteries. The Rashtrakutas by 10th century they were beginning to fragment, they were beginning to show their limitations. And with the rise of imperial Cholas in South India from 9th to 10th century, they started losing their influence over far south. And gradually they were defeated in a number of wars and battles. In North India, we saw that towards the end of 10th century, specifically from 11th century, a number of Turkish invaders started pouring in. So facing challenges on both the front, the Rashtrakutas could not maintain themselves and they were defeated by the Chalukyans. So later they were defeated by a number of feudatories, and from their ashes or from their decline emerged the Chalukyas of Kalyani. In the next segment of early medieval India, we will move to the Cholas. We will understand the various debates associated with Cholas, the various literary developments, and then we will move on to the Rajputs before actually moving on to the Turkish invasion, which we will study along with the Rajputs, paving way for the establishment of the Delhi Sultanate. Thank you.